Origin Gents, welcome to CG Reaction, and this is Miscellaneous Miss Heracles. Not Hercules, Heracles. Where the hell did Hercules start from? It's Heracles, isn't it? On the channel Overly Sarcastic Productions. The man, the myth, the legend, the hero so insane he's been alleged to have gone pretty much everywhere and done pretty much everything and everyone. I can't possibly talk about all of his exploits in a single rationally sized videos, 10 minutes. But here's the major highlights in the timeline of Heracles. Yeah, Hercules or Heracles, whatever, is the the most famous Greek hero. I mean, there have been lots of movies. The latest one, I think, the Rock's movie. So his story is more of a that bedtime story type of things where he slays lots of monsters and things like that. Obviously, since I started to react to this channel, I realized that lots of Greek stories are just basically washed and polished for the younger audiences here. In reality, there are lots of effed up thing in this story. So I don't know how effed up this story is going to be, but I guess we will find out. Only Sarcastic Productions is a great channel. I love the video and the sarcastic take on all their jokes. It's just funny, especially all the animation they do. I love that. So it's gonna be fun. I'll react to some of this video from this channel. If you haven't seen my reaction to it, check out the link in the description with all of my videos. Check out the cast for different playlists like Internet Historian, Real Life Floor, CGP Grey, things like that. And yeah, let's watch this one.
Well, what's the point of me doing this one? Everyone already knows Hercules. He's basically ancient Greek Superman with a healthy dose of modern sports stardom, right? Did 12 cool things, got the girl, called it a day. Couldn't be simpler.
Well, no. Hercules is a lot of things, but simple is not one of them. First of all, Hercules is the Roman hero. Heracles is the original Greek version, named for the glory of Hera and an ineffectual attempt to keep her from trying to murder him. Unsurprisingly, they are pretty distinct. Second of all, remember this word?
I've talked about how hubris was the most common.
Wait a minute, isn't Heracles is Hercules? Maybe Romans changed some stories from him, but isn't they're supposed to be the same
Character flaw for Greek heroes. They'd
Think too highly of themselves, try to be gods, and end up getting smacked down for their sins.
So far, we've only seen one major subversion of this, which was Perseus, who basically didn't have any flaws. But Heracles is also a subversion because his biggest flaw is wrath.
How unexpectedly modern, right? Well, Heracles begins his life, as so many heroes do, with Zeus spotting a fine-looking lady, this one by the name of Alcmene.
Oh, wait a minute, mic was off. Look at that. Look at that face. I've reacted to what, 2 or 3 only videos about Greek myths, and in every one of them, Zeus is on the clouds, just staring at the woman, and we all know what's gonna happen now. Look at those eyes.
Zeus does his thing and shapeshifts into her husband, Amphitryon, and gets her pregnant.
The very same night, her actual husband scoots on by and does the same thing.
That's right, today's first plot twist is that Heracles had a twin. So Hera is livid, as she always is when Zeus pulls this kind of nonsense, but this time she's extra miffed and starts trying to take as many petty revenges on the baby as she can possibly think.
Why is she always pissed at the people who had no control and never is pissed at Zeus? I mean, she didn't even know that that's Zeus or somebody else. And look at her under there. You son of a, that's what she's thinking in the head.
Priority 1 is screwing Heracles out of his birthright. So the night Heracles and his twin are slated to be born, Hera convinces Zeus to make the next descendant of Perseus to be born the king. Now, Alcmene is one of Perseus' descendants.
Oh, okay. Perseus and Andromeda. Okay.
Meaning Heracles is slated to be the next descendant of Perseus, so Zeus is totally okay with the idea, whereupon Hera zips down and
Wait a minute, Heracles is descendant of Perseus. Damn, okay.
kidnaps Alethea, the goddess of childbirth, to keep Heracles and his brother right where they are until the day is done. Then she causes Heracles' cousin Eurystheus to be born prematurely, so he gets to be the king instead. Fortunately, Alcmene gets to give birth eventually because one of her servants tricks Alethea into bailing, whereupon Hera turns the servant into a weasel as revenge.
The family still keeps her.
Damn, talking about abusing power, she literally made sure that Heracles don't get born before the cousin does. That's just effed up, man.
Around though, which is nice.
Anyway, Alcmene is acutely aware of the fact that the baby is already a problem for
Alright, somehow I know this is your fault, okay.
her and will probably only cause more problems later on, so she kicks him out, whereupon Athena scoops him up and ferries him over to Hera, telling her that someone left this poor baby just lying around, whereupon Hera pities the little guy and nurses him a bit. Unfortunately, Heracles is a toothy baby and boob noms a little too hard. Hera chucks him because ow, but the damage is done, because her magic milk has given him superpowers, making him crazy strong. Athena takes the little guy back to his parents and they raise him pretty uneventfully, except for that one time.
Wait a minute, so just in this story, just to fit the narrative, Heracles has immense power. They did, the original mother said, oh, this is all your fault, now throw him away. Athena's like, oh, what is that? Took the kid and like, okay, I can't take this. So, brought it back to her, what is it, Hera, what's her name, Zeus's wife. And, then she's like, oh, poor kid, and started to breastfeed him, even though she just tried to screw with him. That was all her plan, was that. And then because of her breast milk, and Heracles now have, superhuman powers. And then Athena brings back the kid to the, original mother, and she's like, all right, I'll take him back. So just to fit the narrative that he has superpower, they had to do all this cycle.
Time with the snakes. So prior to the 12 tasks thing, Heracles' story is a little muddled, which is pretty common for culture heroes. They tend to accumulate stories over time. The main highlight is one time teenage Heracles gets pissy because he's having trouble learning to play the lyre and ends up killing his teacher as a result. Then a while later, he ends up in Thebes, where he courts and marries Megara, the daughter of King Creon. They have 2 beautiful children, whereupon Hera drives Heracles crazy and he kills all 3 of them. He gets his brain back, is immediately stricken with grief, and goes to
What the He killed his teacher. He killed his 3 kids because Hera drove him mad. Is that accurate, or just that's an excuse? Man, this is effed up.
consult the Oracle about what he should do to atone. The Oracle, guided by Hera, tells him he needs to atone for his crimes by serving his cousin, King Eurystheus, for 10 years and doing whatever he tells him to. This is all part of her cunning plan to accidentally make Heracles the most famous and revered Greek hero ever, because nobody ever just kills anybody in these stories. So this leads to the famous 12 labors, or rather 10 plus a couple extra. Initially, Eurystheus gives him 10 labors, but 2 of them get discounted for shenanigans. Number 1 is to kill the Nemean lion, known for being immune to all mortal weapons,
and having the general disposition of a chainsaw strapped to a ceiling fan.
Heracles ends up strangling it and skinning it with one of its own claws.
Mission number 2 is killing the Lernaean Hydra, for which Heracles conscripts his half-nephew and sometimes lover, Iolaus, for moral support.
That happened a lot in ancient Greece, don't question it.
Anyway, after learning that cutting off the heads just causes more
Yeah, moral support. Why do her bad vibes about that? Okay, and this is the the most famous beast from Heracles' time, right? Hydra. I think I remember when I was a kid, cartoons about this, I think.
heads to grow back, Iolaus suggests using fire to burn the neck stumps, which works really well. Before they leave, Heracles takes some poisonous Hydra blood and coats his arrows with it.
Because why not, right? With that out of the way, Heracles returns home, but Eurystheus is all, hey, you got help for that one, dude, doesn't count, and adds another trial for later. So trial number 3 is to capture, alive this time, the Ceryneian hind, a deer sacred to Artemis. Eurystheus' cunning plan here is to have Heracles offend Artemis and get her to kill him, but as soon as Heracles explains what's up with his trials and such, Artemis is like, yeah dude, go for it, just bring her back when you're done. So Heracles brings the hind to Eurystheus, but Eurystheus is too slow to actually catch it, and it zorps back to Artemis no problem. Mission accomplished. Mission 4 is to capture the Erythmanian boar, but Heracles gets distracted along the way and parties it up with a centaur friend for a while instead. Unfortunately, centaurs apparently don't know that Greek wine needs to be watered down before it's drinkable, so they all get super drunk and then start trying to pick fights. Heracles drives him off with his poison arrows, but his centaur buddy accidentally drops one on his foot and dies.
So just like any other, party with friends, get drunk, punch each other, and that's the night.
Well, that was kind of pointless. Anyway, after that fiasco, Heracles visits the immortal centaur Chiron for advice, who tells him that the boar is impossible to stop while charging, so he needs to drive him into the snow to immobilize him and then carry him off. So Heracles does, and brings the boar back to Eurystheus, who immediately freaks out and makes him release it back into the wild. Mission number 5 is to clean the stables of King Augeas, which are filthy. So Heracles first gets the guy to promise him 10% of his prize cattle if he manages to pull it off, then diverts 2 rivers through the stables and cleans them out super efficiently, surprisingly not demolishing the building in the process. But Augeas is a sore loser and refuses to pay up, so Heracles and Augeas' son Phileus take him to court, whereupon he sidesteps all that legal nonsense.
Wait a minute. Here's first question. All right. Heracles, started doing all these things. The king sent him all to kill all these beasts. He did that easily. So he's like, okay, I'm fed up with you. Just clean the stables. He does that, ridiculously. Why isn't this king going like, okay, he's under my service for 10 years or something. Let's make one of the tasks to, I don't know, help me in military or something so I can conquer more land, or just use him. He's Heracles, whatever. He's one of the, basically demigod or whatever. Why not just do that rather than just try to, basically divert him like this? Any task you give him, he's going to complete. What's the point of all this? use him rather than, trying to, make him killed or something. I don't know.
by banishing them both, because he is the king. And then Eurystheus refuses to credit the trial because Heracles did it for pay, even though he didn't get paid. Heracles gets pretty pissed and kicks Augeas out of the kingdom and makes his son Phyleus the king, then takes his cows and goes home. Mission number 6 is to drive out the Stymphalian birds from the swamp they live in, which he does with a little divine help. Athena has Hephaestus make him a special rattle to frighten the birds into the air, whereupon Heracles is free to shoot them down. Trial 7 is to capture the Cretan bull, mostly known for being the father of the Minotaur. Ew. So Heracles wanders into Crete and asks Minos if he can take the bull, which Minos is fine with since that stupid bull has done nothing but wreck stuff ever since it got there. So Heracles picks him up and brings him back, whereupon the bull breaks loose and wanders around Marathon for a while before dropping out of the story completely. Trial 8 involves capturing the mares of Diomedes, which is complicated by the fact that the mares mostly eat people and they're very hard to control. Heracles ends up isolating them on an island he dug out for just that purpose, then kills Diomedes and feeds him to the horses to calm them down. This chills them out enough that it's easy for him to bring them back. Trial number
He kills who?
then kills Diomedes and feeds him to the
Diomedes. Who the hell is that?
horses to calm them down. This chills them out enough that it's easy for him to bring them back. Trial number 9 is to retrieve the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. Fortunately, Heracles being Heracles, this isn't too hard, as Hippolyta takes one look at him and quite willingly drops her clothes. However, Hera decides this was too easy and spreads a rumor among the Amazons that Heracles intends to kidnap their queen. They dogpile on him, and in the chaos, Heracles kills Hippolyta for some reason and bails with the girdle. Mission 10 is to steal the cattle of
How is he constantly end up killing people? What is happening? He tried to escape and somehow killed her. He did the same shit with the teacher. He killed the teacher. I mean, I highly doubt this is by mistake. I think his temper is just, basically takes over and he just kills everything around him without even thinking. Damn, I did not know Heracles had this much of a temper issue.
of Geryon. Unfortunately, he lives on the other side of a stupid hot desert, and Heracles gets so grumpy and overheated that he fires an arrow at the sun. Fortunately, Helios finds this charming rather than intimidating, and loans Heracles his sun chariot to get him there faster. So Heracles touches down on Erythea, whereupon he's attacked by Orthus, the two-headed dog, who he kills. Then Evretion, the cattle herd, hears the commotion and comes by to help, and gets killed too. Finally, Geryon comes out in full battle armor and is, you guessed it, killed. So Heracles scoots back with the
I love how they just animate this epic titanic monsters and he just kills them. I'm Heracles, what do you expect?
cattle after taking an extra year to round them all up because Hera thought it'd be funny to send a gadfly to spook him. Eurystheus then sacrifices the cattle to Hera, which does nothing to soothe her nerves. Trial number 11 is to retrieve apples from the Garden of the Hesperides, which is complicated somewhat by the fact that the location of the garden is a secret. So Heracles wrestles the location out of Nereus, the old man of the sea, and heads off. On the way, he runs into this dude Antaeus, who's immortal, but only so long as he's touching the earth. He challenges Heracles to a wrestling match, and when Heracles realizes he can't beat him by pinning him, he just picks him up and crushes him. Anyway, so Heracles reaches the Garden of the Hesperides, but he can't get
I thought when he's immortal, when he's on the ground or earth or whatever he said, I thought, maybe he's going to take him to the water or something. No, he just literally picked him up just a few feet and crushed him. What the talking about, weak power, damn. All people that just have to do is gang up on him and lift him up and just kill him. That's it. His immortalness is not much of immortal, is it?
get the apples because the tree is guarded by this big dragony thing named Ladon. Fortunately, nearby is the Titan Atlas, busily holding up the sky. So Heracles is like, hey buddy, hey, yeah, want to do me a solid and grab
just nearby. It just happened to be near the tree where he's holding the entire sky. Okay.
some apples? And Atlas is like, sure dude, but you'll need to carry this. Sky ain't gonna hold itself up, you know? So Heracles tags in and holds up the sky while Atlas scoots over to the tree and picks some apples. So Heracles is like, yo, thanks man. Hey, can you tag back in? And Atlas is like, actually, how about you just tell me where to take these and I deliver your apples for you? So Heracles is like, oh man, that just sounds great, but my cape's getting really uncomfortable. Could you tag in for a second so I can adjust it and then we'll swap back out? And Atlas is like, what could go wrong? And takes back the sky, at which point Heracles obviously bails. For his 12th and final labor, Eurystheus straight up tells Heracles to go to hell and kidnap Kerberos. So Heracles traipses down to Hades, whereupon he bumps into Theseus and Pirithous, still fused to their chair.
Theseus and Pirithous were punished by Hades for attempting to kidnap Persephone. Okay. And have her marry Pirithous. Okay. And he was just helping. So he just got caught for helping his friend, apparently. Okay.
They ask him for help, so Heracles frees Theseus, but when he tries for Pirithous, there's a huge earthquake, which he takes.
Yeah, because Theseus did nothing. He was just helping, so it doesn't matter if he got freed. But if you, try to release him, that's the main culprit, so yeah.
a sign that he should probably leave him there. So Heracles heads deeper into the underworld and encounters Kerberos, along with Hades, who asks him what exactly he thinks he's doing. So Heracles tells him he's here to kidnap his
Wait a minute, what's he said her name? His name?
encounters Kerberos,
Kerberos? Isn't it Cerberus? That's the dog before the gate or something.
along with Hades, who asks him what exactly he thinks he's doing. So Heracles tells him he's here to kidnap his dog, and Hades tells him okay, but he can't use any weapons to do it, which Heracles is fine with because, again, wrestling. So he bear hugs one of Kerberos' heads until he gives in, and I guess Hades objects or something because most tellings of the story involve Heracles shooting him for some reason. So Heracles drags Kerberos out to Eurystheus, who is unsurprisingly so terrified that he demands Heracles return him immediately. So Heracles carries Kerberos back to Hades.
Yeah, Kerberos is basically the guard dog of the underworld, isn't it? Before the gate. Yeah. I reacted to that story from internet historian about mythology, in which I knew that it is Cerberus. I call him Cerberus. I don't know if it's Kerberos. I'm pretty sure it's Cerberus, right? He's a guard dog, underworld guard dog or something like that. Three-headed dog. This is ridiculous. Heracles is doing all these feats like it's nothing, even though these are feared creatures.
And goes on his merry way, finally free of his service to Eurystheus. Now Heracles' story doesn't end with his labors. He has all kind of hijinks, frankly too many to list here. A lot of those hijinks were romantic. He was married 4 times, his third wife being the one to kill him. And one noteworthy thing is that Heracles, as a symbol of pure masculinity for Greece, had a lot of dude lovers too, because what's manlier than 2 men? Apparently in Plutarch's time, it was customary for male couples to worship at the tomb of Iolaus, who was widely considered to be Heracles' primary boyfriend, which is kind of sweet. But anyway, I kind of glossed over the fact that he dies somewhere along the line, so let's talk about that. Heracles is on marriage number 3, and his wife is this lady Deianira. For those of you who know Greek, her name is a spoiler, as it translates to husband destroyer. So one day, this centaur Nessus decides to kidnap her, which Heracles obviously objects to. He shoots the centaur with one of his old Hydra blood arrows, and the poison centaur tells Deianira that his blood can totally make a potion to keep her husband faithful should she ever need such a thing. He persuades her to bottle some of his blood and then dies. This becomes relevant several years later, when Heracles falls in love with this other lady, Iole. Deianira remembers the love potion thing, takes some of the blood, and smears it on the inside of one of Heracles' tunics, whereupon, because it's full of hydra venom and very, very poisonous, the blood melts into Heracles' body and seriously f***s him up. He's too tough for it to kill him, but it really hurts, so he kinda decides to die anyway. Heracles throws himself into a funeral pyre and burns away his mortal half, becoming a pure god and ascending to Olympus in the process, whereupon he marries Hebe, the goddess of youth. Philoctetes, the guy who lit the pyre, gets gifted Heracles' poison arrows and later uses them to kill Paris in the Trojan War, so I guess some good came of all this. Hercules, hero of...
So let me get this straight. By the end, he was being unfaithful. So one of the wives, basically, who got duped by that centaur or whatever the thing was, horseman thing, then poisoned Heracles. So Heracles was screwed basically. So he killed himself by throwing himself in the fire and become a god in the end process. So I guess basically he profited in the end. And then married somebody there and just, became a permanent god. Really? So this is just effed up, man. Wait a minute. Hercules is a Roman version of him. But it is him, right? I mean, Romans change Greek gods in some way here and there, stories. But in the end, they acknowledge that is the same god. So, Hercules' stories, all that. Nobody talks about his temper. But clearly he had one. He killed people left and right. That is just ridiculous. But I guess you could see it in a way like he was so powerful that even simple temper tantrums was killing people. So I guess, that could be one of those things. But damn, he was really powerful. He was just, basically dominating really powerful creatures like it's nothing. Alright, that was Heracles. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the Rick Sunday. There's a link in the description. Check out the cast for the plays. Check out the end cards. And I'll see you next time.